Sorry in advance, guys. Just letting you know that the music in this place was extremely loud. Copyright music. Hey, please watch the video all the way to the end. We left our honest opinion of our experience. Please tell a friend to tell a friend, share the video, comment, like, subscribe, and enjoy. check out my wrist candy. My wife and my niece, it was in cahoots to replace my watch. Thank you guys.
issues like that.
Ay, ay, ay. Now we're in the quiet of the car. I'm gonna have to do some editing with that video because of the music. But what do you think of the food?
Okay, so the food had its pros and cons, and I think back of the house and front of the house have some opportunities. So when my food came, I had light food in the aspect of it's not gonna hold the heat. So you had a burger, and your burger came and it was nice and hot.
No, actually, it was just warm.
Okay, yours was warm. Mine was lukewarm.
You know what? Let me rephrase, because I should say I don't really know. The potatoes was a little past warm, but I started to eat the potatoes first, and then I ate the catfish. So what was supposed to be the appetizer, but came after the main meal. So by the time I got to my burger, it was basically warm.
Okay.
So let me phrase that.
So you had some heat to yours. I had waffles, bacon, and eggs. My eggs were lukewarm, my bacon was cold, and my French toast was cold. I said that they have opportunities because while, first off, I don't know why our entire order went in together. I don't know why our appetizer came out midway through our main meal. But yeah, so if your burger, let's say for example, your burger take 10 minutes to cook, then they should have started my food 5 minutes into your burger. Halfway through your food, in my opinion. So that it's not sitting around waiting for your burger. And that's what it felt like. It felt like it sat around and waited for the burger. And so that's the opportunity I think back of the house have. Front of the house, she should have, I don't think that she communicated to them when she put in the order that, hey, the appetizer is also here, so go ahead and do the appetizer first.
When I walked in, they have stuff like any, well, let's put it this way. They're more set up like a fast food kind of, like with like the chicken wings. And a lot of people that does like a lot of heavy traffic, whereas like the main course and stuff like the wings and stuff like that, they par fry them, and then they're almost to the point where they actually 100% fried, and then what they'll do is flash fry them to heat them up so that the orders would come out real fast. And when I came in, there was chicken wings already in a deep fryer just sitting there. I don't know, I didn't pay attention after that, but it looked like they've been sitting for a little bit. And what they do is just flash fry it and get the orders up. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I have seen people do that, but for the price that you're charging, I would think that you would drop my fresh wings as soon as the order comes in. And of course, they're not giving you wings; they're giving you the wingettes. And that's what I have a problem with any place that serves wingettes and call it wings, you know. And if I do that, I'm giving you what is the equivalent of a whole wing, even if it's just the wingettes, you know. But they also had the bacon, which most places, like I said, is going to have like stuff like that, like bacon already prepared, and all they do, you just basically heat it up and put it on the plate.
Well, they missed the heating up part on my bacon completely. But I want to stress that this restaurant have a lot of potential, and it by no means is going to close down if they never listen to me, because they're going for like a 90s vibe. You go in, you have the unfinished look, which there's nothing wrong with the unfinished look, but there's a lack of consistency. So let me give you an example. You don't have a dropped ceiling like you have in most restaurants. You can see what would be under the ceiling, and there's nothing wrong with that. They've kept it painted. It don't look dirty or anything. They have some ivy hanging from it, and that's fine. My problem comes in because on the walls right? They have some twirly, swirly lines going around, and that's fine. And then they come into a mural. Where my problem comes in is that the mural is beautiful artwork, but there's no consistency. It didn't go with what the front half of the restaurant looked like. And then the boots are turquoise, but the chairs are grass green. There's a slim turquoise line in the painting, and it looks like they just kind of got furniture on discount and they took what they could get rather than what would look good. The aesthetics aren't very pleasing to me. Then the tables are inconsistent. The boot tables,
They're kind of wobbly.
the boot tables are white color with a stripe going around, right? And it hit the corners and so forth, though the corners around it. And then the table we were on was made to look like a marble top. It's not. It's pressed wood. And the tables there's damage to most of the tables. And I hate the fact that they put the basket of condiments and silverware and napkins. They didn't organize it nicely. It was just kind of pushed in there. The vibe that you were going for was upscale, but it was given diner. You know, with that thing on the table. That's what I expect at a diner. If I go in and I'm going to sit down and get, you know, back in the 90s, what was 50-cent coffee and a Danish or whatever, that's what I would expect. But that's not what you're going for. You're going for a more upscale vibe. Then the smallest table for 2 people can barely fit one, and then you still have a smaller version of that condiment tray on there. You've got the centerpiece. You've got the little tent the acrylic tent that would give you like, hey, further down the week we're having like $3 burgers and $4 mimosas or whatever. And you have all of that on a table that's really meant for one, and you sharing it with 2 people. You haven't thought that out. So those are just some of the observations that I made, but it has a lot of potential.
We are not by any means skinny, okay? But the lady that was sitting at the table, she was just her alone sitting at the table, and it was she basically took up the whole space.
Yeah, and she didn't have any food yet. She just had her menu.
So that's just telling you, you know, it's people nowadays, like back in the day, I guess you had more skinny people when I was growing up, and then, you know, over the years people have gotten a lot bigger, you know, and the little tiny spaces, I know there's always somebody that got some smart crap to talk, but it is what it is. I mean, I understand I'm overweight. I live with it all my life, so crack all the jokes you want. But the thing is, if an average size, or what's considered to be an average size person, is basically sitting at a chair and has no room, you know,
that table.
At that table, is kind of crazy. But a lot of places do this. They stack as much tables as possible into the smaller space, and it is not about the customer's comfort. It's all about, let's put as many tables so we can get as much people in as possible. Now, I'm not against maximizing your money, you know, but sometimes you got to kind of stagger it a little different, whereas you can have a little more space, you know, so your customers can have a little more room, because if they're not comfortable, they can just grab whatever they can grab and get the hell up out of there. So, you know, they can go someplace.
And they're not going to come back. Then, like, if you're in Ybor City, I know the rent here is expensive. There's no 2 ways about it. Minimum starting rent, I could definitely see somewhere about $15,000 a month. Easily. Right? But you want to build a reputation on repeat customers, so that when things are slow, those repeat customers are who are going to keep you afloat. And while I think this have a lot of potential, I would not go back. Oh, and the floors. There's so much going on, because now you have grass floors, you have a grass strip, you know, and then you have the unfinished floors, but they're cracks. Like it's not unfinished chic. It's just we didn't have enough money to do the renovations necessary. It's like I said, it has a lot of potential. I could see it being great. And these are minor changes that could be made very easily. There's things out there where you could refinish the top of the table yourself, and it'll probably be somewhere about $15 per table. You can do that for the meantime. But yeah, there's, I wouldn't go back, not because I don't think it had potential, but it's inconsistent. I didn't like the feeling there.
Like my burger, let's start with the catfish, because the potatoes were seasoned properly. They was pretty good. They was crisp, but yet pillowy on the inside. Okay, properly seasoned, nice coating, and they has a nice golden color. Now, the catfish itself was delicious. I like the catfish, but the problem with the catfish for me, now everybody won't have the same issue. I prefer the catfish fried a little longer because it was extremely wet. Now, it wasn't wet to the point where it was destroying the batter, you know, it was destroying the coating, but I'm from the Caribbean. We don't do too much of that soft, mushy fish. You know, if you eat like trout and stuff like that, it's fine for you, because trout is a very, very, now I wouldn't even say flaky, I would say mushy fish, you know. And catfish itself, if it fried a little longer, it will draw some of the moisture out. It will still be nice and moist, but it won't be, as soon as you pick it up, it fall apart.
Yeah, it was wet. It was wet on the inside, and I hate a wet fish.
Even though it was wet, it was delicious.
It was delicious.
You know?
And that was my first time tasting catfish. And I would eat their catfish again if they fried a little bit longer.
Well, you can probably request them to do it, and they'll probably do it. But if you never had it before,
it was good.
You wouldn't know, you know? But
yeah, it was really, taste-wise, it was good. And it was hot.
Extremely
it was hot when it came out.
I took my first bite and
the shrimp was delicious. No complaints. Like, they fried it firm enough that it wasn't jiggly, but not too firm that it was chewy. It was perfect for me. It wasn't too salty. It had flavor. It was perfect. The shrimp catfish basket, the basket overall would get 8.5 out of 10 from me. If I had to do the shrimp alone, that would get a 10 out of 10 for me.
Me personally, in all honesty, they were just trying to keep as much moisture in it as possible, because some people don't like dry fish. I don't like dry fish. I would give them a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Okay, for the catfish.
Okay.
You know, for the shrimp and the catfish. The burger itself, the burger was juicy. It was well done. It didn't actually give you a choice whether, you know, how you wanted it cooked or whatever. But it was cooked. It was cooked the way I wanted it. It wasn't dried. It was soft on a French toast. What we call it? The bread that you make the French toast. So the thick cut Texas toast. And it had a slice of cheese. It had pico on it. It had, suppose I had guacamole. I had her put it on the side because I really don't care for guacamole. And it had a fried egg. I asked her to put some cheese on it, and it had bacon. Now the burger itself, it was juicy. The flavor was there. It was popping with flavor, but it had a little bit too much salt on it, and then the salt from the bacon took it a little further. It wasn't extreme. Without the bacon, it wouldn't have been an extreme saltiness, but it'll be a little more than you would if you actually serving. If it's for you, it's fine, but if you serve in the public, you know, normally you wouldn't go so heavy with that kind of with as much salt. But like I said, with the bacon itself being salty, it added that extra salt content to it. But all in all, it was edible and it was good. But I just got that burst of extra salt that I really didn't need. And for somebody that's suffering with high blood pressure and all of that, you wouldn't want to actually give them something like that.
So your suggestion would be like a low sodium bacon? A
low sodium bacon, and also a little less salt in the seasoning. In the burger, because the burger was completely seasoned. It wasn't that crap where, as they give you ground beef, and just throw a little salt and pepper on it. It wasn't like that. It was actually
flavorful.
It had, you could taste the onion powder, you could taste the garlic powder, you could taste the seasoned salt, and whatever other seasonings they put it in it. You can taste it. It was a burst of flavor, but it just had a little too much salt because of the bacon and whatever salt that they used to season it with.
So what would you give that meal?
That meal itself, I would give it, in honesty, without the salt, it would have been perfect. So I would honestly give them an 8.
Okay.
So it's still a high score.
You know what? I kind of want to go back to the basket of shrimp. I think we didn't mention that they had these cornbreads, and they didn't warn you. They're jalapeno cornbread muffins, little mini muffins, and I would have wanted to know that before. But yeah, I just wanted to say that. But that basket was still good. You gave them an 8 out of 10. I'm gonna give them a 6 out of 10 for my waffles, eggs, and bacon. Here's why. It's not just that it was cold, but if I'm paying as much as I'm paying for that plate, you need to give me real eggs and not box eggs. I want my real eggs. I didn't like how crispy the bacon was. It looked like the bacon was fried all the way instead of partially fried, and then it been sitting there.
It was put on the griddle, and they just let it sit there, and
Yeah, and it dried out.
Yeah.
And it was too crispy. It was caught in that weird place, like as if they over microwave something where it wasn't crispy all the way, but it wasn't soft. It was like a chewy dry thing. I didn't like that. And then the person who did the French toast, okay, here's a suggestion that I would love y'all to take, and I am not charging for my idea. But with the theme that you have going, it would have been nice if you took that peach bourbon glaze and made it a syrup for the French toast. Hint, it would have taken that over. But whoever cooked the French toast, and those guys are working hard. They're not playing, but I don't think they paid up enough attention, because I had spots of burnt area on my French toast, and that was a no-no for me. So it being cold, the way it was, I would give them like a 6 out of 10.
It wasn't only your thing, because the bread for my burger, the outside you didn't see any burn, but on the when I tasted a little burn, like they turned the burnt part on the inside. But it added, it wasn't a burn for me. It wasn't a burger where it was you taste that char, but the little char that was on the bread, smoky. It kind of give it a little smoky taste, so it kind of added to it.
So it worked with yours,
right.
But mine was French toast, so
right.
Nobody like burnt egg,
right?
So if you like strong drinks, this is the place for you. So I got me a pineapple mimosa, and I'm not a strong drinker. I'm gonna tell you, if I was a strong drinker, it would have been 11 out of 10. It would have been perfect. But I'm not a strong drinker, so I'm just gonna give you a 10 out of 10. I would have liked more pineapple in there than champagne, but that's a personal choice. Regular folk who ain't wimpy like me would have loved that combination. So they have their strong points. They have their really strong points. Certain things that they do really, really well. I would like to see them turn down the music a little bit. Not because it wasn't vibing, not because it wasn't good music, but just communicating with each other, communicating with the server was a little bit hard with the music being as loud as
it looks like it has something like a club in the back.
Yeah, it have private rooms.
And it back there was even louder than where you was at.
And they're playing different music, so every time somebody goes in and out,
right.
The music that was in your room is polluted with the music from that room.
One thing I want to touch on, that the muffins, I don't know if they made the muffins, but it looked like store-bought muffins. I might be wrong, but they honestly, they were dry. It could have been, if it was served with some butter, where you could have dipped it or put some butter,
almond butter, some honey almond butter on that.
It would have made a difference.
It would have been, yes, that would have killed it.
It would have made a big difference, because even if it were like store bought and you had add that to it, it'll take it to a different level, and people would have never known. But it honestly tastes store bought.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with store bought. Certain things you're gonna just have to do store bought, because as much as you like to, you're not a scratch kitchen, so you're not making everything from scratch. There's nothing wrong with it, but when you do store bought, keep in mind it's a generic taste, and you've got to make it yours. So again, that peach bourbon glaze might have been nice as a peach bourbon almond butter or something. You know, like there were a lot of things that they could have done, and that would have made that muffin
a lot better.
Yes. I'm not a jalapeno person, but I might have just foregone. I might have just foregone the fact that I don't like spicy stuff and ate it anyway.
It was like I said, I ate it and it was okay, but it was dry. But if they had added some kind of like buttery flavor to it or something, just a drizzle of butter or whatever, just to kind of take it a little in a different direction, people would have never known. And if it isn't store bought, you know, it honestly.
I swear this lady has been sitting here the entire time, because right where she left us.
Yeah, but it's all good, you know. And like I said, sometimes you just gotta make somebody else's recipe your own. And there's plenty of things that I cook that I take from different places, and I kind of I modify it to be my own recipe. You know, we from the Caribbean. I mean, I've worked in Italian restaurant, you know, contemporary American / Italian restaurant, and even barbecue pits, you know. But I still modify everybody else stuff and call it mine. But anyway, this is a long rant, so until next time, laya.